We created this library, Mentor Reports, by creating a form in InfoPath, and now we'd like to create a workflow. I can start in SharePoint Designer, but I can also decide that I'm in my library right now. Why don't I just go to create a workflow in SharePoint Designer right here? And I'll be prompted 3 times to allow an application to open SharePoint Designer. Sending down data. Here we go. So what's the name for our workflow? Well, right now we're just going to create a workflow. We're going to email the submitter and the mentee. We'll start with emailing the submitter. And again, we would add a description. I'm going to say OK. And the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to email submitter and the mentee. We might be doing some other things later with this workflow, but this is what we're doing right now. So what I'd like to do is take an action, and the action here is to send an email. And we've done send email before. We're not at all new at this. And it asks who we'd like to send it to. User who created current item is the submitter. So when I choose user who created a current item add, that's going to take care of it. Whoever the created by person is, it doesn't matter who modifies it later. It was created at one time by one person, and we're going to launch this workflow and send them an email. And then, of course, I'll want to create a good subject that says that we received this information. And you might wonder, why would we do this? The person came up here and they filled out a form. Don't they know that they submitted it? Yes, but they'd like to have some kind of information. When you go to Amazon.com and order something, or to the Microsoft site to buy a new Surface Pro 2, you always get an email back that says, we got your order, and here's some information about it. So people are used to this. We want to make sure then when people are dropping forms in our libraries that we are sending them some information to say, yep, we got it. Thank you very much. So we'll click the build button and say, Mentor report received. Very simply. And then we'll put more information here. Most of us aren't going to be filling out 500 mentor reports because we don't have the bandwidth to have that many mentees. But we can say, your mentor report. And now we can do the lookup. And from the current item, well, we've got a couple of choices. But probably the easiest thing to take is either the name or the title. The name is going to have the mentor and the mentee in it. And we could say was successfully submitted, because if it wasn't, we'll never get to this point where we're running a workflow. The item has to be submitted in order to be a new item sitting there in our library. So your mentor report by name was successfully submitted. Use this link to view or modify your report. And at this point, you should know that what we're going to be putting here is our encoded absolute URL. There we go. And if we want to be doing something special with URLs, there's no reason why we can't. We could make them a different color, for example. Could turn them blue always. We could, underline them if we wish. Doesn't really matter. And if we want, when we're all done, we can say this email was generated by SharePoint. Please do not reply to this email. Now, if we're going to do that, which is always a good thing to do, it's often helpful to tell people who they could reply to. For more information on the mentoring program, email, and we can put a link in right here without a problem. So there we go. That is how we send an email back to the submitter of a form, including someone who submits a new item on a list or a new document in a library. This is how we email the submitter.